Welcome to the Daily Rounds office. It's time to talk about why most entrepreneurs don't need another to-do list. Most entrepreneurs don't have a time management problem. They have a decision fatigue problem. And another to-do list won't fix that. Another productivity app won't fix it. Another perfect morning routine probably won't either. Because the real issue isn't that you don't know what to do. It's that your brain is trying to manage too many open loops at once. So your day starts reactive. You open email, you check Slack, you scroll, you answer messages, you respond to small fires. You feel really busy. But by the end of the day, nothing meaningful actually moved. And then you write a longer to do list for tomorrow, and that's the cycle. So let's talk about why that actually happens. Most to do lists are just emotional dumping grounds. They're not strategic, they're not prioritized, and they're not constrained. They're a place where we offload anxiety. Everything that feels urgent, everything that feels important, and everything that feels unfinished, it all goes onto the list. And then the list becomes overwhelming. So instead of giving you clarity, it increases mental noise. Now, here's the part that matters. Entrepreneurs don't struggle because they lack ideas, they struggle because they lack structure. When they wake up and your day has no defined shape, your brain has to constantly decide, what should I work on? Is this the most important thing? Should I check my messages first? What if I'm missing something? What if I forget something? Those micro decisions drain energy, and by midday, you're cognitively tired. Not because you've done deep work, but because you've been deciding all morning, and that's decision fatigue. And most productivity advice accidentally makes this worse. It says add more tracking, add more habits, add more optimization, add more systems. But complexity layered into complexity doesn't create clarity, it creates friction. The real shift is this: you don't need more tasks, you need fewer decisions. When I realized that, everything changed. Instead of asking, how do I get more done? I started asking, how do I reduce the number of decisions I have to make each day? That question is very different because execution isn't usually blocked by laziness, it's blocked by overwhelm. So let's break this down practically. Why do to do lists feel productive but rarely create momentum? Because they focus on volume instead of direction. You can complete 10 small tasks and still avoid the one thing that actually moves your business forward. Your brain will often choose easy completion over meaningful progress, and that's not a character flaw, that's just human behavior because small wins feel good, but they don't always compound. So instead of building bigger lists, I started designing structure. A structure is simple. At its core, structure answers three questions before the day begins. What actually needs to move today? When will I work on it? And when will I stop? That's it. Now notice what is missing. There's no giant task inventory, no 47 item checklist, and no constant reshuffling. Just clarity. Now, most entrepreneurs wake up and let the day decide for them. Notifications decide, clients decide, messages decide, mood decides. And that unpredictability keeps you in a reactive state. And when you're reactive, you never feel ahead. You feel slightly behind all the time. And that constrains low level pressure and builds stress. So here's the uncomfortable truth. If your day feels chaotic, it's probably not because you need a better app. It's because you haven't designed constraints. Constraints create freedom. And if you define one meaningful outcome for the day, you reduce noise immediately. Not five, not 12, just one primary movement. Everything else then becomes secondary. And when that primary movement is complete, you actually feel progress. And I mean real progress, not just motion. Now, I'm not saying ignore all admin or ignore the small tasks, but they shouldn't dominate your cognitive bandwidth. They should live in containers, time boxed, controlled, and limited. Most to do lists mix everything together. They mix up deep work, admin, personal reminders, ideas, random thoughts. Your brain literally can't distinguish priority when everything sits at the same level. Our structure separates them, and separation reduces the friction. So here's another piece people don't really talk about. To-do lists don't actually protect your energy, structure does. If you don't control when input happens, like email, Slack, social media, they leak into everything. And constant context switching destroys your focus. You don't feel it immediately, but by mid afternoon, your thinking is slower, your patience is thinner, and you assume you need more motivation. You don't. All you need is boundaries. Now, entrepreneurs often resist structure because they think it limits freedom, but the opposite is actually true. When your day has shape, your mind relaxes. You're not constantly scanning for what to do next, you're executing. And execution feels lighter than endless planning. So if you're currently living off a long to do list that keeps growing, just try this instead. Tomorrow morning, before you open up anything external, decide what is the one meaningful movement you will do today? Not what's urgent, not what's loud, but what actually matters. Then protect a defined window to move that thing forward. After that, then handle all the noise. That small shift changes how the day feels because now you're directing it instead of reacting to it. You don't need another tool. You don't need another template. You need fewer moving parts and fewer decisions. So when you reduce decision load, you increase consistency, and consistency is what builds business, not bursts of motivation. Now, if this resonated with you, in the next video, I'll break down how I structure my day so progress happens even when motivation drops. Because once structure is in place, discipline becomes easier, and your brain finally gets to focus on building instead of constantly deciding. So I'll see you at the next video.